Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we've got a spicy one featuring Marauding Mako from Aetherdrift. This is an evolution of like the Hollow One decks of old, which were sometimes a bit madnessy and sometimes a bit more like this. And I took this list, the top 4 small Japanese tournament, and I made like minor adjustments to it. So what is this deck trying to accomplish? Well, we're trying to discard and draw cards. Mainly discard cards, but obviously we would like to get some value, so we're, looting, rummaging, whatever you want to call it. So we have Marauding Mako. Whenever we discard one or more cards, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. So this gets pretty large. We can pump it with a Faithless Looting, put 2 counters on it. Burning Inquiry puts 3 counters on it. Burning Inquiry is not a great Magic the Gathering card, but it can be a +3 permanently on this creature, which is pretty nice. There is also Ivora, which is a relatively new one from Foundation's Jumpstart, I think. It's 2 mana, 1/1 trample. Whenever you discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Ivora. And whenever it enters or deals combat damage, you get a blood token, which gives you another ability to discard. This kind of just snowballs what you're wanting to do anyway. Then we have Inti, which is whenever you attack, you may discard a card. And it's whenever you attack. It doesn't have to be Inti attacking. So you can play this and attack with your 1-drop. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. It gains trample until end of turn. So another discard outlet that is also giving us some card advantage when we read the second part of this ability, which is whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile the top card of your library, you may play that card until the next end step. So this will include any discard. So if we cast like Faithless Looting, we get 2 cards off the top. Oh, sorry, we get 1 card. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards. Yes, we get 1 card off the top from Faithless Looting. We still get a little bit of kickback of value there. We've got some Street Wraiths as just a free way of cycling, so we can pump this at instant speed, or we can have more cards cycled for the purposes of Hollow One. And we're playing Detective's Phoenix, so we've got some cards that want to be in the graveyard. So Detective's Phoenix is a thing that is a 3 mana 2/2 flying haste, but we can play it for 1 mana with Collect Evidence 6, which means we have to exile 6 mana value worth of cards from our graveyard. So that could be a Street Wraith and a Burning Inquiry, for example, and that would be enough to bring this back, so we can start making our Hollow Ones be 6/6 flyers or whatever with haste, and that's pretty spicy. And then when we're doing something that is obviously a little bit fun, we need to put in some good legacy cards, and that's where Fable the Mirror Breaker comes in. This is kind of the powerful glue that's probably going to hold this deck together, I'm guessing, because this is probably the best red card in Legacy. It's certainly right up there. It has lots of value on its own, and it has the second mode, which is discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards. So that's going to be pumping all of our stuff, making our Hollow Ones cheaper, going to be doing a whole bunch of work for us. Very big fan of this, and if we're starting to copy Hollow Ones, that's not a bad place to be either. Then we have Broadside Bombardiers. If we're playing things like Hollow One, which we'll be playing for like 0 mana, then having something that Bombardiers can throw that costs a lot that we didn't actually pay a lot for, it means we can dome people for 7, or maybe use this to kill a problematic Murktide, which I suspect is going to be a problem here. Or like an Atraxa, if that's in play and the cards we have isn't good. But that seems very unlikely and a bit wishy if we're trying to beat them after they resolve an Atraxa. Then we have some Lightning Bolts. This is going to the face. This is killing creatures so we can keep attacking. Just pretty solid. We are an aggro deck, so it makes sense to have a little bit of reach. That's pretty much the deck. We've got 1 Surveil Land. We've got 1 Arena of Glory. We've got 4 Ancient Tombs. We can power out turn 1 Fables with our Simian Spirit Guides sometimes. And then we have Sundering Eruption, which can be useful. If our opponent's got big creatures, we can then stop their creature from blocking as long as they don't have flying. So this is a thing that might actually come up as being useful as a card. But it's also just a land. And more importantly, it's a 3 mana spell. So this, when it gets discarded, is going to be 3 mana towards our Collect Evidence. So there's some really nice synergy here. I think it's probably going to be a bit too cute. And I've had some other ideas using the blue version of this. So there's a blue card that has flying and is a 1/2, but is otherwise the same as this card. And I wouldn't mind trying that build out. You get Careful Study instead of Burning Inquiry. Careful Study is way better because random is, pretty nonsense random, right? So that's something that I've been working on myself. But this one was a list that somebody else played and did okay at a tournament. So I wanted to have a look to see how this felt before I started building my own fully. Sideboard-wise, we got some hard graveyard hate. We got some hard stuff that's probably going to be blowing up Murktides. Like I said, we're probably quite weak to those. We've got Ingot Chewers. This can blow up some scary artifacts for just 1 mana. And also, this is 5 mana in the graveyard, which is really good for our Detective's Phoenix. We've got some land hate in Magus of the Moon, and our combo hate of choice is Magebane Lizard. This is a card I have never seen in play. It's a 2 mana 1/4, at least I don't recall seeing it in play. It's a 2 mana 1/4. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, Magebane Lizard deals damage to that player equal to the number of non-creature spells they've cast this turn. So against the Storm deck, this is probably going to kill them before they can kill us. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do with that. We can ramp out early with a Simian Spirit Guide and have it on turn 1. I'm not really convinced how good this is, but I've not played it. And if you don't play cards, you don't know how good they are necessarily. So we're trying it for today because that was what was in the list I found. And yeah, that's the deck. I'm excited to give this a go. I want to learn quite a lot really because the build that I've been working on looks quite a bit different to this. So I want to see what I can take from this that looks good and then kind of work from there on a different build that hopefully might be a bit better that we can play in a few weeks' time. All right, please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5k subscribers for my birthday in pretty much a month's time. So help me do that and just click that subscribe button if you watch my content. That would be wonderful. All right, let's dig in and get some wonderful Shark Pirate action for you lovely people out there. If you want to play some Eternal Magic, why not check out the New York City first annual Eternal Team Trios Winter Tournament. This is a legacy, modern and vintage team event, and team events are always some of the best Magic events going, so why not check it out if you're in the area. We are on the play, which is where we want to be. Okay, so we have Mako into more Makos, bolts, all sorts of stuff. Okay, we'll keep this. Would have liked to have had some sort of discard effect in this hand, but we can use the Ivora for that. We can also just cycle one of these, which will then pump the other ones because we discard it when we cycle. Let's get ourselves a nice little mountain to start things off. Here comes the Shark Pirate. Look how happy this little fellow is. Just sharking about. Although I find its legs slightly unsettling. Anyway, let's see what our opponent's up to. They're just going to combo us. We don't really have much recourse for that. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay. Would like to find just another red land. We did find another red land. Okay, I'm going to cast a Lightning Bolt on this Dragon's Rage Channeler. I'm going to fire him with another Shark. Worth a daze to your opponent? Yeah, it is worth a daze. And we get to crack in for an almighty 1 damage. A Lightning Bolt on our poor little Shark. A Simian Spirit Guide. Okay. I think we go Marauding Mako. And then we go Ivora. Around a daze. We need to have a card to discard before we can actually draw from this. Wow, Force of Will on an Ivora. Sure. Okay, we are a little bit empty in the tank here. We're going to need some of these like draw discard effect to start growing our friend. If we can get this out of range of Lightning Bolt, then I'm going to feel pretty good. But we're getting dangerously close to a Murktide Regent, which could be a problem for us. We do have those Pyroblasts sat in our sideboard. Alright, they're showing us their Grixis as well. Ponder means no Murktide, that is excellent. They're probably pondering looking for a Lightning Bolt. We've got a Delver instead. Can we find any way to discard a card this turn? Okay, the answer to that is no. Would they trade this Delver? Maybe. They might be scared that we can cycle something, but we can't. You know what time it is? It's Simian Spirit Guide beatdown time. Everyone's favourite moment of any Legacy game. Okay, Delver of Secrets, don't flip. Didn't flip, okay. Hopefully they didn't draw a Murktide though. Brainstorms, this is going to flip next time around. Well, we traded quite a lot of resources early on. Like we both fired off a Lightning Bolt. They had a Daze and a Force of Will, so they're a bit lower on cards because they've had to pitch a bunch of stuff. We're just a little bit empty here. Whether or not we play out the Spirit Guide, I don't know. It depends what we draw because having stuff in our hand to discard is useful. Blue, blue. Okay, so here's the Murktide, and that's probably going to be lights out for us unless we can grow our creatures enough and then Sundering Eruption our way through. Keeping back the Murktide to block, that's not too bad for us. Oh, they didn't make it as big as they could. That's terrible news. That means they've got another one. Uh-oh, we are in trouble. A Street Wraith. I guess we're cycling it. Another Street Wraith. I don't really want to pitch all my life to do this. But here we are. And then another Ancient Tomb that we definitely don't want to fire off. We can't attack here. We could play this Simian Spirit Guide. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they could potentially grow this for 9. Like, we're dead to this anyway. Are we supposed to play this out? So we go to 9. They hit us for 8. And then our Ancient Tomb is switched off. What draws do we have? Let's look at our list. What draws do we have that actually help us out here? Broadside Bombardiers is probably going to be able to do something, but not a lot. Alright, let's play the Simian Spirit Guide. I hate it, but I think that's where we're at here. There's so many things that we lose to here. We've got, what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage on the crackback. 2 from Bombardiers, 7, 8, 9, plus 5. So we're going to be 1 damage short. So if they fetch land for some reason and don't interfere with our creatures or produce any blockers, then maybe we're okay. That's a pretty big if. So here's the other Murktide. So we're going to have to pay 1 more mana for this one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So we deduced this from the fact that they didn't do the other Murktide. So it's going to go 5, 6, 7, 8. But they didn't flip their Delver. So we're not dead this turn. Our Ancient Tomb is off, which means we can't actually cast the Bombardiers anymore. That's a little bit on the awkward side. I think we're just cooked. Yep, we're cooked. Let's show ourselves a door. Okay, so what are we going to want from the sideboard? Well, the Pyroblasts are going to make a huge difference here. I would very much like those in our arsenal. I don't think we need anything else. Like the Magus of the Moon is okay because they're Grixis, but they have lightning bolts, so they're just going to bolt it. So we want these 4 Pyroblasts. We definitely want to keep the lightning bolts for the early creatures. Are we just getting rid of something like the Burning Inquiry because it's such a weak card in general? So I think I'm just going to cut Inquiries for the Pyroblasts. And then we need to find 1 more cut somewhere along the lines here. I don't want to cut any of our good cards and our payoffs. I don't want to cut any lightning bolts. I don't think we can cut a land here either. So we probably have to think about something like a Street Wraith. Just because we don't want to have our life total be under too much duress against them. If we're just playing guys, that's probably fine. What does this hand do for us? We can play an Ivora on turn 1. Or we could play a Phoenix on turn 1. I don't really like that. If we play just the Mako on turn 1, next turn we can play an Ivora, pitch the Phoenix, and pump our team. That seems pretty good. Alright, little shark friend. It's your time to step up. We have the Pyroblast, so we have the scary Murktide covered, which was kind of the thing that turned the previous game. Obviously, we kind of drew a bit bad, but if they were left with just a Delver, then that would have been okay. Alright, so they have a Delver here. Alright, this is going to be a pretty sweet turn. This is kind of how we drew it up when we were looking at this deck. Let's play Ivora. Please resolve. Alright, so this resolves. We get a Blood Token. We can activate this Blood Token. We can discard this Detective's Phoenix to grow our guys. And we get a card out of this. How good is that? A Sundering Eruption. We can cycle this. So this grows both of our guys again. Oh, this is a sweet, sweet turn. So we could Simian Spirit Guide. Oh, actually, we don't have quite enough for that, do we? We do have... We can play this. We don't have enough stuff here, really. I don't really want to... I think I'm just going to play this... Oh, no, we've already played the land this turn, haven't we? Because we played the Ivora, so we didn't get to play another land here. I don't want to Simian Spirit Guide this back now, either. Like, we could... we don't have quite enough, do we? Need 1 more discard here. But we have a decent amount of power over here. And we have the scary thing covered. What are you going to show us this Delver? No flip. Excellent news. So if they have a bolt, it's probably getting pointed at the Ivora. So now we can discard this at instant speed and really mess our opponent up. So what do I want to do here? I think we play this untapped. I'm going to lightning bolt this creature. And then I'm going to Detective's Phoenix on the Ivora or the Marauding Mako. The Ivora is stronger just generally as a card. So I think I'm going to put it on the Mako so that we're splitting our threats. So if they want to kill it, they kill the lesser creature. So we get rid of these 2 things. And then we've got the Simian Spirit Guide and the ability to cycle this if they try and Lightning Bolt us. Lightning Bolt targeting the Mako. Okay, so then we cycle this. Look at this. What a tasty stack this is. Okay, this is sweet. I'm having a great time. Yeah! Alright. Let's screenshot that business. Excellent. Okay, let's see if we can do that again. No changes. Deck's perfect. Although the Street Wraith is kind of interesting here. Maybe I do want the Street Wraith. Draw, though, we're going to be a little bit under the gun. So maybe we don't want this. It does sometimes let us jump out of removal range. But it's not free. 2 life is... Ugh. I would very much like some mountains, please. Maybe too many mountains. But we do have a turn 2 Fable the Mirror Breaker. It probably has to be turn 3 so we can Pyroblast to back it up. I will keep this and I will get rid of... We're getting rid of a land. I'm just trying to work out which land. I guess we get rid of a mountain here. Because then we have the option of finding a Surveil land. putting cards in our graveyard. Obviously good when we have the Texas Phoenix around. All right, so they've got a little guy here. Just a little guy. What is the dealio here? So we could just fire off this Faithless Looting right now, but we kind of need to get our ducks in a row before we start doing this sort of stuff. We're not a deck that really just wants to immediately draw and discard cards. So then we're going to play this Bloodstained Mire and probably get a Surveil Lab, but we'll see what our opponent does. This does expose us to a Wasteland down the stretch, which is not something I'm a fan of. But I think in the current situation, we need a little bit more gas off the top. So having the selection is probably where I want to be. All right, they have a Delver of Secrets. I don't know if we can Pyroblast this Delver. Because if we Pyroblast the Delver, we don't have an answer for the Murktide unless we find another Pyroblast. Orcish Bowmasters, they don't want that against us. That must mean they don't have another land. They don't have a lot going on here. I think I'm going to Pyroblast in the end step. And if they daze it, it means we have a free roll, or likely a free roll for our Fable, which can snowball out of control. Yes, it sucks if they get a Murktide, but I think we just have to try and get on the board here. Because if we just sit there trying to play this tactical game, and then our opponent just kills our life total stone dead, while we've got a bunch of cards in hand, we're going to feel terrible. I wouldn't mind something like a Spirit Guide here. Ooh, that's actually pretty good. This gives us the ability to just snap off this guy straight away, and then we can play a Failure Mirror Breaker next turn. Even if they play a Murktide, it's not going to be that big, because they only have one instant in their graveyard. Sorry, one instant or sorcery in their graveyard. And then next turn we can get Fable going. Just a Delver, that's fine. And a Ponder, so this is almost certainly going to flip, unless the cards are so bad they have to shuffle. But the chance of them being able to find like a fetch land and something that flips Delver is quite high. And because they haven't played land yet, they could just play the fetch land. Okay, they've got a Wasteland. That's not actually an issue because we're going to get the mana out of the Ancient Tomb here. Alright, in comes the Fable. Do you have Forcible blue card over there? No. Okay, so we have the best permanent in play right now, I would say. Are they going to Wasteland our Ancient Tomb? It's going to bleed us out a little bit. Obviously, they don't need to Wasteland it now. They can see what they're doing in their turn. Right, so they're revealing a Lightning Bolt. So we need to make sure our life total respects this Lightning Bolt, unless they're just going to go straight for hitting this, because they might just try and deny us mana by getting this Shaman out as well. Alright, so we're getting a Murktide here, which means we're probably pitching this Faithless Looting. It can dig us towards something, but also it's kind of disadvantage. I think we probably want to cycle this Street Wraith now. It's a little bit awkward, but we want to have more information what we're doing with our Fable. Right, so they don't have Lightning Bolt up now, but it is in their wheelhouse of things to do. Hollow 1. So we say OK to this. Yes, I want to use the ability. I don't know if we want this Ancient Tomb. Maybe we just get rid of these two. And that gives us the most... Like, we can definitely assemble a Hollow 1 this turn. So we can deploy this Inti. We could... So this costs... How much does this cost now? This should cost 1 mana. So we can just play this out into a daze. If we attack with this, we can discard a card and get the top card of our library. And that makes us free. And then we get to play around a daze. This will die. That is kind of awkward. Would I trade this for a treasure token? That's basically what we're doing there. We're trading it for a treasure token. If we find a bit of extra damage, that's quite handy there too. But we'd kind of be trading this to make sure we get a Hollow 1 in play. We're already a little bit behind on the damage race here. So we're going to need something pretty exciting. So how long do we get to play this? We play that card until your next end step, so we'd have to play it now. So if this finds us like another Hollow 1, that's really good. Finds us a Pyroblast, that's really good. Okay, I think we have to do this. So the problem with the casting the Faithless Looting here is that we basically just discard the 2 cards we have. So this way we can try a different approach. So let's get this going. What do we find? We found a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That is not one we get to cast right now. Will they block this, knowing that we have Lightning Bolts in our deck? Okay, maybe because we agonized so long over that decision. But we do get to cast this for free, and we can play around days. So we have 7 damage on the crackback. They have 8 damage, and they're already at higher life total. So we're going to need some action. Yeah, 8 damage. Oh wait, they have the Lightning Bolt that we already know about, don't we? Oh yeah, this is lethal. Maybe we're supposed to have just Faithless Looting there. But I think if we Faithless Looting, then we're just going to have no resources left. So here, let's see if we can draw the one extra card we would have seen. Alright, it's not going to show us. But we would have been able to draw one extra card if we went for the looting, or see one extra card to dig for that Pyroblast or that Lightning Bolt. The only downside with that is we're throwing away a bunch of stuff and not having anything on board. Because we probably have to throw away like our Inti and our Hollow one to try and do that. So maybe that is the correct play, and I was just aiming a bit too high. But I think we're playing to win rather than to lose slower. Alright, that is surprisingly close considering our deck is a little bit janky. Let's go to round 2. No lands in our hand, so let's mulligan this one. Fable Breaker is a very good Magic the Gathering card. We're on the play, so I don't need triple Spirit Guides, so just chuck one of those away. This is a very good forcible target if our opponent has it. But you got to play with the hand you've been dealt sometimes. Alright, so we're in with this. That's a good start. So we want to cycle this in our upkeep so that we have a bubble of how many cards we've discarded for the purposes of the hollow ones in our deck. Prismatic Vista. So we're probably looking at some sort of white control deck maybe, or it could be like blue-green Omnitel. I'm going to cycle this now. A Lightning Bolt. Is this going to be a Lightning Bolt matchup? Alright, I'm going to discard a card. I'm going to discard at least this Faithless Looting. I don't think I want to discard another land here. I think I'm okay discarding a Lightning Bolt for now. A Burning Inquiry. Interesting. Let's go for this Goblin Showman attack, and then we're going to just play another Fable and Mirror Breaker. So Faithless Looting from the graveyard is card parity, whereas from your hand it's card disadvantage. So I think if we're already discarding stuff here, we're better off just leaning into it a little bit. So they could daze this. But generally speaking, you don't see that many dazes out of Prismatic Vista decks. Alright, we're just in. Okay. Not a bad place for us to be. We've got some junk that I'm kind of happy to throw away. Poor Burning Inquiry. I like this card, like thematically, but it is a bit of a stinker. Alright, we may discard up to 2 cards. I will discard just the Burning Inquiry. 2 hollow ones. Interesting. Let's attack with my creatures. We can deploy 1 hollow one this turn. I think we're just going to get show and tell next turn. That's going to be miserable for us. 1, 2, 3 mana. Like, this is a pretty respectable aggro hand here. We're probably looking at clocking our opponent quite soon. But it's just not going to be enough to keep up with the combo deck. This is a green. This is going to be a... Yeah, okay. I'm expecting this to be blue-green, Omni-Show, Omnitel, whatever. Planar Genesis. Could still be that, or it could be some sort of weird high-tide deck. Probably the Omni-Show, though. Now they put an Ancient Tomb in. This is just better than Impulse. And those decks tend to run Impulse anyway. Alright, here comes the show and tell. We don't have any recourse for this. In comes the hollow one. Omniscience. Are they going to put an Emrakul in? They're going to put in another Omniscience. Please don't have anything. Seems very unlikely that they have nothing. Okay, so they have an Atraxa. Do you have an Emrakul? Show me the Emrakul. They do not have an Emrakul here. They have a Cunning Wish though, so the Cunning Wish goes and gets them shared summons, which then goes and gets them Emrakul, so that's going to be enough. Because once they cast the Emrakul, that's enough. We were maybe a turn too slow. So what do I want to do to help us out here? Pyroblasts are the obvious ones. I don't believe the Mages of the Moon or Ingot Chewer are helping here. Magebane Lizard isn't going to do very much. So we just want these 4 Pyroblasts. This is not a great looking matchup for Lightning Bolts. Even though I quite like having the reach, I don't think this is where we want to be. So let's just go back to this. Now, Burning Inquiry can mess up their hand, or it can just sculpt them a perfect hand. It's just... The word random is a lot. Obviously, we don't want our opponent just drawing and discarding whatever they want, but... Yeah, it's a bit rough. So what do we have here? We have a turn 1 Faithless Looting, which isn't necessarily something you want to play on turn 1 anyway. And then we have Broadside Bombardiers. I think we can just do better. Let's get a 1-drop or something good going. And this doesn't feel very good either. Okay, this is a pretty good start. So we have to work out what we're having here. So we need our land. I would like to have access to the Mako and the hollow one. Street Wraith is pretty good here too. I don't think we get to keep the Fable. We probably don't get to keep the Ancient Tomb here either. We need to basically take a hand that gives us the highest damage. So yes, we'll pay 3 life. Our life total is not really the important thing in this matchup. So let's get our Shark in. We want to pump this on our turn so that it can go alongside the Faithless Looting to get us towards Hollow 1. Counter disadvantage of Faithless Looting is going to be annoying, but hopefully we draw some stuff that we don't want and we can power out like a Detective's Phoenix or something. Are they just comboing us on turn 1? They are comboing us on turn 1. How do I feel about this? Obviously terrible. I guess we put in our Hollow 1. And a Traxxer. Okay, this isn't the worst. We can Pyroblast this out of the way. Okay, not the most exciting thing I've ever seen. Like, it's pretty good, don't get me wrong. And they're going to be able to rebuild very well if they don't have anything going on here. So what are they going to keep here? Misty Rainforest, Stock Up, Force of Will, Dress Down. Okay. So the Force of Will is live, so it's going to be a little tricky for us. Let's cycle this. Broadside Bombardiers probably isn't where it's at, is it? I guess we are going to cast this Faithless Looting. Is this worth a Force of Will to you? Pitching a Brainstorm. Okay. We don't get to attack because this has lifelink, Death Touch, Vigilance, everything. But Broadside Bombardiers can kill this, right? This has got 7 toughness. We throw this, that's 7 damage. So we do have a way to kill this. We just need like an Ancient Tomb to power this out and our opponent not to have anything. They have a Dress Down, which can obviously shut off our Broadside Bombardiers, which is a little bit on the rude side, to be honest. Stock Up, yep. So they're delving deeper, and they've done themselves some damage here, but the Attractor is just going to undo all of that. This is not the sort of matchup we want to be finding ourselves in. The lack of interaction we have is very noticeable. Okay, so we don't have a lot of life left. I guess we cast the card that we have. Weird things happen. This only gets 1 counter though. Wait, why does it put 3? Okay, it does hit all of them. That's interesting. I thought it was only going to hit 1 of them. It says 1 or more cards. Oh, it says put that many on it. Reading is hard, right? We're still not having a great time here though. Oh, this is much better than I thought it was then. I thought it was just on each instant. I apologise profusely, and I'm sure all of you are in the comments tapping away, telling me I'm a clown. Which is fair enough. Okay, it's going to put us to 1 life. So, what do we need here? Like, I don't know what we can have here that helps. Let's try a Faithless Looting, see if this does anything. We could get a Detective's Phoenix and put it on one of our guys. Are they going to Dress Down in response so that we don't get any counters? There's a Dress Down. That does make our job a lot more difficult. But we could still put a Phoenix around. Okay, Pyroblast. That is certainly one of the cards I would very much like to have here. Right, I guess we let this mana empty from our opponent's pool. And then in the beginning of combat, we will plow. Oh, okay, we don't actually have... Like, we're dead anyway if this doesn't work. So we're going to attack with both of our things, and then we're going to... Sorry, not plow, Pyroblast this. Destroy target opponent if it's blue. Does this work? If it doesn't, we're dead. If it does, though, then our opponent's probably just going to put something else in and kill us with that. Intuition. Do they have enough to intuition and go this turn, is the question. They do. I would suggest that that's going to be very poor for us. We have no cards in hand, so that's not great. An Omniscience. How spooky. It's very spooky. Okay, we're dead. Alright, we didn't really get where we needed to go. Turn 1 combo, going to be difficult for us to beat. Let's go to round 3. Turn 1 Fable the Mirror Breaker is certainly among the more powerful things our deck can do. So let's jam that in. We've got a very good card to discard. And we get Hollow 1 basically for free on turn 2. Now, do we get to resolve our Fable the Mirror Breaker on turn 1? That is the real question. I really hope so. Agadine the Undercrypt. Okay, we don't get to do anything this game. They're just going to combo us out on turn 1. So this is probably Oops or Spells. Cabal Ritual, 4 mana. Balustrade Spy. Could be Undersea Informer. There is the Informer. What have you got? Show me your particular build, please. Are they on Pact? Are they on the green stuff? Let's have a look. Elvish Spirit Guides. No other green stuff, so they're on Pact of Negation build. Okay. So what they do, if you're unfamiliar, is they put all these Narcomoebas into play, they sacrifice them to Dread Return, they Dread Return the Thassa's Oracle, and they win the game because they have no deck. Alright, getting bopped on turn 1 again. Not really where we want to be as our sort of aggressive, get at them sort of deck. I believe access to Leyline of the Void is going to be pretty useful here. There is an argument for having Makes of the Moon and Ingot Chewers here, because if they play out any mana, we can blow it up, and we can disrupt their mana and get them away from having black or green mana. Lightning Bolt is probably not a card that's going to matter here. We don't really need to kill their creatures, we need to kill their face. So that gets us the Leylines. Do we want any of these things? And if so, what do we want them in place of? I think we just want a quick clock and a bunch of other stuff going on. Sure. I think we're just going to keep where we're at here. Burning Inquiry is a potential to mess them up. Alright, we have a Leyliner opener. We're going to keep this. Let's put in the Leyline. The Marauding Mako. Our opponent didn't really know what we're doing. I imagine they boarded in just generic answers to stuff. Like Leyline, because that's the scariest piece of graveyard hate for them. So they need to have a way to answer this. So they almost certainly boarded in something for this. But we get to go wild next turn and mess some stuff up with this Burning Inquiry, hopefully. Get to put a lot of counters on our Marauding Mako next turn. So they're not going to have the longest amount of time. Oh, wow. They're going to Thoughtseize us, are they? They're going to make us discard a card. They're probably going to take the Burning Inquiry anyway, so I think we just let them have that. So us discarding this card will grow our Marauding Mako. Haha. Secret tech right there. Thoughtseizing counters onto my creature. And they pay 3 life. Beautiful. Obviously, I would have liked to have had that Burning Inquiry. A Leyline of the Void. Not the one I was after. Let's cycle, though. A mountain. So we're going to have a Surveil land going on. We do it now in case we put a Detective's Phoenix into the graveyard. It's just good, clean magic right there. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That is a pretty strong card. And we have a lot of junk in our hands. So I'll put that on top of my library. Splash for 3. 5-turn clock. But obviously we're going to speed up next turn when we play the Fable. And then the turn after, we will not play another Leyline because we don't have any black mana, despite this Bloodstained Mire. I think this should probably be... I guess we only have one... Yeah, no, this should be a Raucous Theatre so that we have the ability to use one treasure and this to cast our Leylines from hand. Just a nice little quality of life change that we could address. Splash for 3. Our opponent obviously has answers to Leyline in their deck. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be playing this game. I really don't want to get blown out here by a Force of Vigor. That would obviously be pretty miserable for us. But this is 5, 6, 7 damage. And if we find anything that lets us discard, we might be able to pump it to lethal. So we might be able to kill our opponent on turn 4. Which is a respectable clock for Legacy. A respectable clock without any interaction, unsure. But obviously we had interaction via the Leyline. Jack-o'-lantern. Right, they got rid of the Burning Inquiry. I think they should have got rid of the Street Wraith, but they obviously don't know we're playing Detective's Phoenix. And they're going to clean up. Let's see what they discard. A Bridge from Below. Sure. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Let's discard some cards. Yes, I'll get rid of these 2. This is 5 damage. This is 6 damage. If we find any other cycler, we can win this turn. So I'm going to go for the high roll here. Sundering Eruption. We did not find it. Okay, I will play this. Pay 3 life. I will erupt this just to interact in the last way we have available. They will not have any lands to fetch because they do not have any lands in their deck. You should hopefully make it more difficult for them to combo off. Alright, let's scoop it up. Is our Leyline plan going to be good enough here? I hope so. I don't think there's any other plays that make sense here. Just go in. Try and mess them up with a little Burning Inquiry. That can certainly do some stuff at times. This does not have the thing we need. So let's mulligan. This does have the thing we need. So I will keep this one. It's not a bad hand either. We get to play a turn 1 Fable. So what is the removal that our opponent is bringing in? We didn't see that many green cards. So they might not have the Force of Vigor. So having 2 might be relevant. I'm going to bin this Sundering Eruption. If our opponent has a piece of discard, it can wreck us. They're on 5 cards as well. If they've just got a bounce spell and it's not Echoing Truth, then us having 2 Leylines is going to be a really solid way to start this game. Because their deck basically can't win. Like there's the one in every 200 games or so where they beat you down. Please don't Thoughtseize me on 1 though. I need to keep my Spirit Guide. Let's play it tapped. Yeah. Okay. I like this shape we're in right now. Unless they immediately Force of Vigor these. Right, let's cast this Fable the Mirror Breaker. Boom. Alright, tap land. That's good news for us. They also didn't blow up our stuff. Maybe they can't go until turn 3 though. And that's part of their plan. Faithless Looting, you say? I will say, yes, I would like to use the ability. I'm going to discard these 2 cards. We're about to get treasure. Oh, this is going to be a good turn, isn't it? We get to attack with our little friend. Then we can either just make this Faithless Looting or just make 2 hollow ones. If we Faithless Looting, we could hit another hollow one and make this clock even quicker. So I don't hate doing that. So we get to keep 1 additional card, basically. Okay. I think we get rid of this and this and just have another Fable because it's a good card. And then we cast this for free. We cast this for free. And we have a 2-turn clock now. Alright. I can live with what's going on here. It does feel like it's our Leylines that are doing most of the heavy lifting here. But, you know, we're putting reasonable pressure and stuff. We're not doing, like, nothing over here. Let's get in with the team. I'm paying some costs. A Nature's Claim on our hollow one. Okay, so they brought in Nature's Claim, so they didn't have enough green cards. So my read was spot on. And now they're having to use defensive Nature's Claims. That is not where our opponent wants to be here. They're very dead next turn. Do I play this out? I don't think so. We can hold it in hand. It's either we get a Surveil or we have more cards to pitch with the Fable, which I think is better for us. So the plan is we attack for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The double Leyline keep was obviously doing a lot of work when they've been sat there with this Nature's Claim. All right, we got a match win. That is a start. Let's see if we can roll it into some more. Okay, we are into round 4 now. Our hand looks pretty good. We got a card we want to discard, and then cards that actually discard stuff, and something that's a payoff. So I'm going to keep this. And our opponent's just going to turn 1 combo us, and we're going to have a horrible time. Mox Diamond. Okay, we're not getting comboed, but might be getting lanced. Might be getting lanced. Okay. Could be Green-White Depths. Uncertain as of yet. So this Life from the Loam is kind of going to put a clock on this game, because eventually they're going to find all the bits and pieces they need to ruin our day. But the Sundering Eruption might actually come in handy here because we can use it to blow up Maze of Ith so it can't tap down our... Oh, sorry, can't untap and remove our creature from combat. So we could actually just get in those final points of damage when the time comes. Alright, so they milled over, nothing of use. I'm going to pop their Graveyard out because it's going to be quite a key zone to know what they have access to. What we don't want to see is Marilage. Okay, I'm going to cast a Faithless Looting here. Given what we have in our hand, I'm just going to chuck... Probably just the 2 Phoenix, isn't it? So we'll yield to this. Alright. We didn't come here to not cast Burning Inquiry. Let's just go wild with it. Now, our opponent doesn't have the Life from the Loam in there at the moment, so they can't dredge it, thankfully. Let's get wild with it. This is just actively good for our opponent because they are just dredging a bunch of stuff anyway. And a Plow. Well, that's sad. What do we get rid of? A land... And 2 lands. Okay. This is where having the Mages of the Moon should hopefully come in handy. But things like Mox Diamond can still wreck us here. So we help put the Loam in the graveyard for our opponent. Not great. A Loam and back, Stage, Saga, and Ghost Quarter. So Saga's going to very quickly outpace what we're doing. And we can blow stuff up, but it's only going to make a difference for 1 turn. And then they just get it back. So not feeling great, but we might be able to use this to get through blockers. I don't want this land to be wastelanded, so I'm going to go and fetch a mountain here. And we can deploy the Fable. Got some more dredging going on, so they can besiege away our Fable if that's the thing they're interested in doing. I imagine what they're going to do is just keep pumping out constructs, or a Tabernacle. It's not really what I want to see there. So we're probably loaming back something. Just a few more lands. This is going to be making a construct. I think that's going to be better than Maze of Ithing. They're on 20 life, so they're not under any pressure here. Okay, they're besieging this. We should have got the commercial district there. That was a misclick. Sure, I'll pay 1. We get to force through some actual real life damage here. First damages to our opponent. Not a great place for us to be. So we're just going to be flinging treasure at our opponent. Just try and get as much damage as we can going. We'll hold on to the Street Wraith for now. If we play it next turn and maybe it does something else, like pumping one of our creatures or making our hollow ones cheaper, there's no need to do it now. Okay, so they're not really hitting stuff we care about, but they kind of already have the stuff we care about in play in terms of Maze, Saga, and Tabernacle. What they can probably do here is just go and get Marauding and be ready to go. At the moment, we are ready to bring back a Phoenix using our Street Wraith as part of our evidence. Okay, we're Lowman. So next time they get a 2020. So we're going to need access to Detector's Phoenix pretty soon. We'll say yes to this. Say yes to this one as well. Have a little look. A lightning bolt isn't the worst thing I've ever seen here. So if we want to, we can Sundering Eruption this and buy ourselves some time. But how are we going to beat this Marauding? I can't remember if we've got another source. No, it's just we don't have another source. We don't want to crack this. Okay, let's Sundering Eruption this. Force for a little bit of damage. Which means we can bring back both Phoenix next turn. Alright. So we might have lethal damage next turn. Just throw this treasure. I guess the problem is they're just going to Lava Spur Boots in a hasty guy, aren't they? Whoops. Yeah. I forgot about the Lava Spur Boots that's going to break us here. Yeah. It's fascinating we even managed to live that long, to be honest. I think if I were them, I would have churned out some construct tokens. We would have just lost the construct tokens. So if we just put the Phoenix on there, we get no damage through that turn because we have to keep them back on blocks. Unless we put a Phoenix on each creature, and then we get 4 damage through. If we get 4 damage through, then our opponent's going to be on 12. We have to chump block, and then we get 4, 5, 6, 7 damage through. No, we're not going to be able to finish them before this kills us. Awkward. Okay, so, Megs of the Moon, I would like you... I think I quite like the Ingot Chewer here. There's some annoying artifacts they have I wouldn't mind tagging where possible. Lightning Bolt seems pretty bad. I don't mind having the reach, but I don't think that's what this is about. And that's a pretty easy 4 for 4. Now, do we want Leyline to shut down their loan plan? That is an option that is available to us. This Burning Inquiry is pretty bad, but it's one of the things that lets us get a big burst of early damage. So I think we have to keep it here. I think we just have to avoid having these ley lines here and just keep our plan going. What does this do? Very little. Let's mulligan. We need something aggressive so we can just start this game off on the front foot. Okay, that's pretty aggressive, isn't it? So what are we doing with this hand? We can play the Mako and looting and play a hollow one. That's quite a lot of damage on turn 1. Okay. So we got a lot of power that we're putting into play on turn 1. And we just got to hope that we can ride it to victory. I would back the lands player in this matchup every time though. I'll cast this. And then we will cast this. I'm going to discard 2 cards. It's probably going to be these 2. Yeah, we can grow our friend. And we've made 7 power on turn 1. That's pretty reasonable, but that is our entire hand. If we draw an Ancient Tomb, we get to pack a little bit more damage on. But I'm a bit worried they're just going to plow one of our creatures because they are on the green-white build with the plows. Alright, this is not a card that plows us. Exploration. Okay. Is this Maze of Ith? No, it's a Besage. So this can still crop rotate into something. Another Exploration. Okay, we're still going. A Bajuka Bog. Okay, so we're going to lose our Faithless Looting. That's fine. What are we going to draw here? An Ancient Tomb. We don't want to play that because our opponent can just waste out from underneath us. So we're going to hold it for now. But we're cracking for 7. That's a pretty good spread of damage there. Does our opponent play Thespian Stage, Dark Depths this turn and kill us? Possibly. Riftstone Portal. The perfect card to chuck away with a crop rotation. So by keeping this in hand, we're not getting done by this wasteland. Okay, so this is giving them white mana, which is why they're doing that, so they can source the Plowshare as one of our creatures. Which ones are they going to go for, though? Okay, no, they're just loaming here. That's fine. I thought we were getting plowed. Now, we might... No, we're not getting plowed, right? They just returned 3 lands. No, they returned 2 lands. They have 1 mystery card. I hope it's not a plow. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I will take that. So we can crack for 7 again. Provided our opponent doesn't have any tricks. And then we're in pretty good shape. So basically, the whole plan of this game for us is to get in underneath the loam exploration before it gets to do its thing. Right, so taking that one out. And then we get to deal 4 damage this turn. And we've got 6 coming in the turn after. So we only need to find a little bit more damage. We don't have any burn spells, which is a bit awkward. Detective Phoenix is another 2 damage. So that will be enough. Alright, opponent. They dredged nothing of relevance here. Now, obviously, they can wasteland our Ancient Tomb, which shuts off our Phoenix line, which is pretty good. Okay, so they're getting rid of their own Boseiju, so they can loam it back and then fire it at our Fable. That gives us another land, and it means that we're still live for Detective Phoenix. We don't get to sculpt for it, though. This one's going to be close. So we have information. Okay, so they have wastelanded us here. And they're going to Boseiju this. We can't Detective Phoenix now because we've lost the Ancient Tomb. Yes, I'd very much like to get... I'm going to get this commercial district. I think this game doesn't have many turns left, and I would like to maximize them. Okay, they got rid of our hollow one instead. So we can draw 2 cards and discard 2. So we have to discard the cards first, don't we, though? So this hollow one just doesn't play here. But we still have the Fable. I will discard this card. Sundering Eruption. So it's a case of, can the stuff we have in play beat what our opponent has each turn? So our opponent currently doesn't have any way of stopping this, of what we're up to. Just Boseiju. So they can get the Horizon Canopy, so they can double dredge and get through their deck quicker to try and find the things like the Tabernacle and the mazes that they're looking for. And we're just in a race against time. So we're going to get our commercial district wastelanded here. I'm going to float green if they do that. Just give them something to think about. Drawing a card here. It's going to dredge that life from alone. They hit the Maze of Ith. That's really good. Not for us, obviously. Okay, so they're tapping the wasteland to get the maze. So we do get to Sundering Eruption and get 2 more damage in. Which is not nothing. Come on, deck. We need you to be good to us here. An Arena of Glory. That is an interesting one for the future. Would I like to Sundering Eruption this Maze of Ith and force 2 damage through? I think so. I kind of wish I had lightning bolts now. We know they don't have anything in hand but lands, right? So, anything I've missed to draw, they have been dredging, right? Alright, so we put our opponent to 3. We're getting close. If we can draw a threat that we can Arena of Glory in, like an Inti, that'd be pretty good. Okay, another Maze of Ith. That's definitely a pain. We're so close here. I still don't think we're supposed to bring in the ley lines or keep the bolts in. Obviously, right now it looks like either of those cards would have been good. But if our opponent just goes like... Oh, so they're getting rid of this. Okay. That's pretty good. Okay, what do we need? A lot. Marauding Mako. Oh, we're still casting this. I don't think this is a cycle. I think this is a... Make our treasure. So it's definitely worth attacking with this. Like, we can use these treasures later on to pay for tabernacles if that happens. There is the tabernacle. So we can pay for this. We can still Arena of Glory out a creature because our treasure tokens. They can Boseiju away some of our treasure tokens, but we do have enough stuff in to get them back. So what have they got here? Rising Canopy, Wasteland, Boseiju. Sure. I wonder if they're going to go into Boseijuing our treasure tokens. They still haven't found the Dark Depths yet. So I'm going to pay for both of our little friends. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Our opponent does have 2 Maze of Iths here. I would very much like this treasure. So we can play this Arena of Glory here. And get ourselves a Fable. So we should be able to pay for our 3 creatures. Then we get a looting. So we should be able to force 2 damage through next turn unless something dramatic changes. Which certainly can happen. Okay, so now I have 3 mazes. So less likely to work. We could just draw the Magus of the Moon at some point. Although our mana's just spoken for at this point, so it's a bit awkward. So they're definitely going to wasteland our arena because they want to get us in the Tabernacle lock as much as possible. They took a regular draw, did they? No, they took a regular draw off of the Horizon Canopy earlier. Okay. So we're going to be seeing some more loam action. They still haven't found the thing that kills us, but we are struggling to get through what they've put down over here. We are at the stage of the game where if we do draw the Magus and stick it, we get to have a great time. Although sticking it might not be the easiest thing in the world. Yeah, so they're just turbo loaming here and just loaming, cracking the canopy, loaming, cracking the canopy. They've got 3 additional land drops a turn so they can really rinse through their deck. And just put this one to bed pretty soon. Yep, we're getting wastelanded. That's not a surprise. Do we pay for our creatures? I think we pay for the treasure ones, but maybe not the Mako. So this gets us 1 deeper if we cycle first. Broadside Bombardiers. Okay. Am I discarding this? Are we just looking for Magus of the Moon, or is this good enough? Because this can throw something and kill our opponent next turn. Yeah, I think we're just going to try and kill our opponent with this next turn. So we need to keep our Fable the Mirror Breaker around. Ideally. Yep, so they're going to bounce these back. Obviously we're still attacking because we're getting the treasure tokens, and that's quite an important part of how we're able to play this game. If they presage away our Fable, then we get the ability to have a mountain. We don't have enough immediate direct damage though. Right, they're going to crack the canopy. Okay, they've gone to 2, so we do have enough direct damage. That is a big deal. That's a very big deal. We might be able to squeak it here. Okay, they found the Dark Depths. They don't have a way of giving it haste though, because that is in the graveyard somewhere. There we go, the Lava Spur Boots. So I think we're okay to win this one. It's not going to be easy. Our opponent's going to... I don't know if they're going to bother hitting our treasure tokens. They probably worked out how many mountains we had last time. Alright, our opponent's board is changing shape repeatedly as I keep playing stuff out. So I think we say no to this. And no to this. Just deploy the broadside. We get to dome our opponent for 2 and win the game, hopefully. And then game 3 we can just Magus the Moon our opponent, because we're due drawing one of those. Oh, what is this? They are besaging this land. Do I need to do anything about this? Can they besage you the other 2? We can just evoke this Ingot Chewer after combat and fling this for 7. Okay, so Dredge Loam here. I think I need to draw a card to hit the thing. Yeah, we managed to get the evening up of the scores. How much do I like the Ingot Chewer? The fact that we can hurl this for damage is interesting, but do we need this? Like, the reason I'm having this is so that we can get through like an Urza's Saga construct that's too big, or that sort of jam. Is that better than Lightning Bolt and just having that direct damage? I think it probably is. We might be able to cut our opponent off with white mana as well, which is how they're going to kill a bunch of our creatures. I think I'm going to stick with the Ingot Chewer, especially since we're on the Magus of the Moon line. What does this hand do? Very little, and we probably help our opponent when we cast Burning Inquiry. We need a fast hand. Okay. Mako into Fable is reasonable. I'm going to put back this Bloodstained Mire. Our hand does not enjoy mulliganing since we're playing things like Faithless Looting and stuff like that, where we're going through our deck a bunch. This is probably going to involve... Okay, I was going to say it's going to involve Ancient 2, but now it's just going to be the Mox Diamond instead. They're just going to loan straight away. Okay, so they've got a pretty clean line to the Marit Lage combo. However, we might be able to disrupt that with this Ingot Chewer. Now, which one are we hitting is the question. We can take out this Expedition map, and maybe that was our opponent's entire line. We can take out this Mox Diamond. Maybe they didn't have enough mana to activate this Saga token, and I'm kind of worried about them having Sagas. Yeah, I think I'm going to take out the Mox Diamond. I don't want them to have 2 big beefy boys that we can't get through. So I guess next turn we're playing the Fable instead. Like, yes, the Mako wants us to have this and get pumping with it, but this card is just stronger, and we need to be doing strong things. A Lush Portico. If we draw another Ingot Chewer, maybe I'll go after the Expedition map. Faithless Looting. Does that change anything here? We can Looting into Hollow one. That's reasonable. That's more damage. I think I'm okay with that. And we might find more Hollow ones. Oh, Inti's pretty good. I don't really want this commercial district. It's kind of burning a hole in my pocket right now. I do like this though. If I play out this... am I going to throw away the Fable? Seems kind of wild. Or is it the Mako? The Mako is interesting. So if we find another mana with the Mako, we get to put both of these in with haste. Alright, we're going to get rid of the Fable and try and dig into our plan. So this costs 1 now, right? Yes, okay. I'm going to take 2 damage to cast it. I think having the hasty surprise damage from the Arena of Glory is going to be better than keeping this around. So if everything goes well, we can make turn 3 jam both of these with haste. That'll be a decent amount we get to crash for. So I assume they're just going to expedition map for something here. Lava Spur Boots. That's a little bit scary. It might just be the best option they have of a bad bunch. Haywire Might. This does not impact our Hollow one because this only hits non-creature artifacts or enchantments. Okay, we're going to get to do the thing here. Ooh, Detective's Phoenix. Does that make any difference here? Okay. So we go... Exert Arena of Glory. Let's cast this. I think it's better to cast Inti here. Nice. We're doing it. We're doing some cool stuff. Who doesn't want to ride a giant, weird Triceratops creature? Attack with all creatures. So we get this trigger. And we get to discard a card. And I think we're going to pump the Mako here. They have Caracas maybe, so we don't want to pump the Inti. Spread our damage across. We get a free card. It's a Simian Spirit Guide. That does nothing for us. We can't exile it to bring back the Detective's Phoenix. Okay, so they're chump blocking this guy. Why are they chump blocking that guy? Do they want to chump block the 4/4? They just realised that this is non-creature. This has trample, so I understand not blocking this one. But I think they wanted to block the hollow one. Oh no, we're getting Force of Vigored. Pitching a crop rotation. So that's their whole hand though. That's okay for us. So they gain 2 life here. But then next turn, we get to flashback Faithless Looting, pump our creatures, draw some extra cards with the Inti. This is all going okay. I wonder how it's going to fall apart. We'll find out, I guess. Right, we're going to pop our Graveyard out here because it's going to be a pretty key zone this turn. A Detective's Phoenix, you say. So this is exerted, so we don't get this right now. If I Faithless Looting and don't hit a land, that's going to be annoying. But it's still fine. It's still fine. Okay, we can get rid of this one. And I guess we get rid of this one. Let's see what we get off the top. It's a Sundering Eruption. So if we play this as the land... So how big are these tokens going to be? So they make this and it's a 3/3. So we need to pump this one. I think I will bestow this Phoenix onto Inti. And we'll get rid of Sundering Eruption and Fable. That's exactly 6. And then we can attack. And then Inti lets us discard a card to pump our guy. Which pumps our other guy already. And Inti can pump itself this time. Oh, wow, can we play that if we discard enough cards? I think we have. That's pretty tasty. This feels pretty sweet, actually. There's definitely something in this deck. This big old shark. We could have put the counter on this so it gains trample. That might have actually been a bit tighter as a line. But I like having a bunch of big creatures. Alright, so we have a Detective's Phoenix that we can fire up next turn as well onto a creature. So they can make a construct. They can give it lifelink, but I think we can probably outdamage the lifelink if they have the thing that gives it the Shadow Spear. But they're going to need a land that works. Okay, so tapping for mana. That's a little scary for it. What is better than making a big beefy boy here? I guess the big beefy boys aren't good enough and they're just be in chump block mode, and maybe they don't want to be in chump block mode. Maybe they've got something they can fire off with this expedition map. I'm having a blast this game. We've really, really got to do the thing here. A Pithing Needle. Does that work on... Okay, they've named Broadside Bombardiers. We can't dome them to the face. This is a bestow cost. Is bestow a spell or an ability? The way it's worded makes me think it's a spell rather than an ability. Okay, so they're going to tutor something up. So they're probably going to go and get the Caracas. Okay, they got Mazavith, sure. But there's a lot of friends coming in. I think all of our creatures are going to be lethal on this attack. And if we draw any other creatures, they're going to have haste too. Okay, we did not draw any other creatures. I'm going to bestow this onto the hollowed one. Getting rid of Ingot Chewer and the other hollow one. We'll keep this in hand so we have something to discard. We're getting ploughed. Now ploughing our hollowed one. That's pretty good. So this will come in as a guy, I believe. Yes. So when we attack, we're activating the Inti. So we're going to discard this. So we're going to put the counters here. And then we're going to do this one. So we're going to see what the card... we don't get to see what the card is first, do we? So what are we going to... We can make our guy... Oh, okay, we got the GGs. Excellent. That is a second win. So we are going into the final round with a 2-2 so far, which is great. Anything that we win from this point onwards is gravy. And we really got to do it that game, and that was really sweet. Let's go to the final round. So we could really go hard on the Faithless Looting plan here, or we could just play a turn 1 Fable. Turn 1 Fable is very much a legacy power level thing to be doing. So I would like to sign myself up right for that one. Flooded Strands, we might have to worry about some kind of daze action. Ponder, classic Island Ponder start, sure. So we're going to go Ancient Tomb, Simian Spirit Guide, Fable. We don't want to fire off our Street Wraith yet anyway, we would like to use it to pump some other stuff. Our opponent's going to be like, oh no, they're on Mono Red Stompy. We are not on Mono Red Stompy. We're pretty stompy though. And we are Mono Red, so I guess you could call it that. I don't like this pause. Oh, we're in. Okay. I feel way more comfortable now. Flooded Strand is usually not a combo card, unless it's Nardu. So it could be Breakfast. Like, combo is basically the thing we're trying to avoid, but we do have an answer. Okay, Preordain, that is normally in combo decks. They could be like a Delver deck that's just playing this as an additional cantrip, and it's also a sorcery for Delirium. That is a thing I have seen. So are we in a situation where we're going to need to be holding up our lightning bolts and stuff? We could mess with our opponent's hand a bunch using the... Okay, they put 2 on the top. Volcanic Island. Show us what you're working with. A lightning bolt. Okay. So in our upkeep, we're going to Street Wraith. So that it can work towards what we need. Okay, we found a land. That's good news. We get to discard some cards. Do I want this Burning Inquiry? I don't think I do. I'm not a big lover of that card right now. Maybe I'll get rid of this Faithless Looting based on what our hand looks like. Okay. Didn't quite pan out as I wanted it to right there. They didn't daze our Fable, so I don't expect they've got a daze for this unless they've just drawn it. Alright, we get some damage in. And then we can play our little shark friend and bolt something next turn. We are taking a reasonable beating from our Ancient Tomb. Our opponent is very much in the Delver ballpark, and they're just running Preordain as one of their flex slots. So they've got a little bit more selection and a little bit more ease of getting Delirium, which can be really clutch if you don't quite get it when you need it. But the little creatures should be relatively easy to handle. We've got the lightning bolts and stuff, so we can keep them out of play. It's stuff like Murktide I'm worried about. Delver of Secrets is fine. That Bauble is weird. I would try and use that to flip my Delver. That would be my personal choice here, unless they're going to cast a Murktide. And that makes perfect sense. Oh, don't cast a Murktide. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be a 6/6 Murktide. So we can fire 2 lightning bolts at it. It's not how I want to play this game. But we can't just have the Murktide hanging around. So if I've counted this right, it's a 6/6. So we do have the ability to kill this. We have to send 2 spells at it. Faithless Looting. So this will flip. And I believe the correct play for us here is to lightning bolt this Murktide and see if they counterspell it. They did not. Okay. I'm going to get a mountain here and lightning bolt it again. I don't believe I want to throw this at the Delver, because if we start copying our broadside, then our opponent is in a world of hurt. They haven't really seen the cool stuff we're doing. They've seen a Street Wraith, so they know something's up. And they've also seen Burning Inquiry and Faithless Looting, so they know there's some weird stuff happening. Alright, they're brainstorming to try and flip this Delver. I understand the want to do that, because you kind of need to get something on board here. And this 1/1 is just not cutting it. But we are very much ahead in the race. Ponder, sure. So this is probably going to shuffle because they brainstormed and presumably put at least one card to get rid of there. Because obviously they were drawing one of the two cards because they did in the upkeep in response to the trigger. What would I like to draw next turn? Maybe the Arena? And then we can Arena the Marauder in and then Faithless Looting and batter a bunch. But just copying Broadside Bombardiers is going to be pretty tough for our opponent. I don't believe they played a land yet, so they can play land and hold up lightning bolts. Or they can just straight up bolt now. They end up in this weird situation of when do they bolt our creature, if they have a bolt. Because if we just tap, activate this, and then they bolt it, then we're kind of out of luck there. Whereas if we attack, we kind of force them into bolting, and then maybe we get to copy it and do some stuff. I think generally speaking, you want to just bolt straight up. Yeah, so I agree with what our opponent's done then, because if they try and play the trick, they're relying on us making a mistake, and we can kind of punish them a little bit. Okay. I'm going to play out this Mako. I'm going to cast this Faithless Looting from the graveyard, I think. A Burning Inquiry. That is interesting. We can just make our guy huge and kill our opponent next turn. Just scramble their hand a bunch as well. Yield to that. Grow our friend. So we want to grow this out of lightning bolt range now, which is why we're doing this. Alright, so we're just going to mill 3 here. That's going to put 3 counters on our guy, and it's also going to mess with our opponent a little bit. We've got another Faithless Looting in there, so this can crack for 8 next turn. So we can copy this, and then we crack for 8 on this one, and then 3 on this one. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. So that puts our opponent to 1, which is not quite the number I want our opponent to be at. We'll see what we draw. We need to be careful tapping this Ancient Tomb. Our opponent's deck does have a bunch of lightning bolts in. Hopefully we didn't help them out here. This looks like a questing druid. Right, so they are seeking the beast. They found a lightning bolt. Where is this bolt going? They can go face, or they can go and kill our reflection. I think either is pretty solid here, though. If they bolt us, then we have to kill them next turn, and it shuts off our Ancient Tomb. But if we draw Burning Inquiry, they will die. Because these cards go away, so they need to bolt now. They're not going to have days for our turn. They're playing the Channeler. It's a 3/3. Okay, they have a bolt as well. Yeah, that is very good. What is our solution to the situation we find ourselves in? We can't kill both guys. We can make a Bombardiers, copy Bombardiers. They probably just kill our reflection in response. And we make a Mako, attack for 6, 7, 8. Taking out their blocker. That's not enough. If we cast a Faithless Looting here, they just bolt us and we die. Actually, yeah, they're just going to... No, the bolt's gone, isn't it? Because this was exiled, so they don't have a bolt. So, is there a way we can get around this? Alright, let's cast this Broadside Bombardiers and hope they don't have a bolt. I think this has to copy the Bombardiers. If they have a bolt, then we die. Okay, so we get to attack with everything here. The first Bombardiers throws a reflection at this guy, because that gives us 6 damage rather than 5. So this kills this by flinging this. And then we crack for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we throw this Bombardiers, the one we have to sacrifice, at our opponent's face. Boom. Oh, that was a really good game. Just some good old-fashioned Magic slogging back and forth between us. That was great. How are we going to address this matchup? Well, I'm going to put some Pyroblast in my deck. That's definitely a goer. Part of me is like, I could play these Magebane Wizards and maybe hit my opponent for 2 damage. That doesn't seem like a great plan. What did we have last time for this? Burning Inquiry I don't like that much because our opponent wants loads of cards in their graveyard because they want the Murktide to go, and I don't like how that synergizes. Maybe we'll cut 1 Street Wraith here. I think that's what we did before. And it worked for one of the post-board games in the previous round. Oh, can we get a positive record with this deck? That'd be sweet. I believe in your deck. No red sources is a no-goer for us, unfortunately. Okay. It's a little on the sketchy side. But it's his turn to make some hollow ones, I guess. But we're going to be going card disadvantage town to do that. Not a big lover of where we're sat right now. Ponder, please. No, it's just like a DRC. Yeah, it's a DRC. That's not what we wanted to see. We don't have an answer for that right now. I think we're on go and get our Surveil Land because we want to have both Faithless Lootings to make our Hollow One cost nothing. So if they don't play a Wasteland, we'll go and get the Commercial District and take a little peek at the top of our library. See if we can find something to kick this up a notch because we're kind of not doing very much. We've got lots of potential, but it could just amount to nothing. This looks like a Ponder. Brainstorm, sure, that's fine. Not that we have any choice about it. But just give them a little pause, make them think about something that we don't have. Flooded Strand. So they're going to shuffle away the Brainstorm cards. They did like the card they saw with the Surveil. We're going to see a Delver here. It's probably worst case scenario for us. It is the Delver. Alright, things are getting a little bit awkward for us. So let's crack this. Go and get a little bit of Surveil action. This also helps our Phoenix get a little bit better. We don't need a mountain, that's for sure. Go in the graveyard, please. A Lightning Bolt. That is the sort of card that I'm looking for right now. I think we bolt the selection creature. It's certainly possible this doesn't flip, but if we bolt the Delver, this is way more likely to flip anyway, so it makes sense. We could fire off a Faithless Looting, but I don't really want to. Because we kind of need something in play before these Faithless Lootings actually tick up and do stuff for us. So I'm just going to pass it over. Wasteland, not very happy to see that one. They might not fire it off, but I suspect they will. It doesn't really help them cast a lot of the spells in their deck. Just taking a little chip for 1. And they are going after our Commercial District. So this is going to be a double Faithless Looting turn, which does not feel great unless we actually find stuff we want to put in the bin. Let's cast this Faithless Looting. Get rid of this one, and I guess it's Fable. We need to get something going. Hollow One being a creature that our opponents can't Lightning Bolt is really important to me. Alright, Faithless Looting, let's go again. Some pretty savage card disadvantage here. But what if we find nothing but... what's happening here? Blue and blue. You got actual factual counterspell. That'd be wild. Okay, they're just casting a daze. Alright, so instead of our card being card disadvantage, we trade 1 for 1 with it. We don't get to cast this now because it costs 1 mana, unfortunately. But next turn we get to maybe drop a Bombardiers. Please don't flip Delver, that'd be nice. I think they are on... They're going blind because they cracked a fetch after they brainstormed before. Alright, so we didn't flip the Delver, so that gives us a little bit more wiggle room. They've got a land, probably not what they're looking for. They probably want some more pressure. 2 is all the land they really need. That is a Volcanic Island. Okay, this looks like a big Murktide. That is definitely not what we want to see here. It's not going to be huge, but it's still going to be a 5 power guy. Yep. Okay, we need a Pyroblast. But we've got a little bit more wiggle room than we would have if it was a fully grown Murktide for sure. Oh, we drew the Pyroblast immediately. Destroy target opponent if it's blue. Before our opponent untaps. Please go away, Murktide Regents. Are your last cards forcible blue card? No. Okay. So we managed to get through the first Murktide. That is a big deal for our deck. Because we really struggle against that card. What is this Delver of Secrets doing? It flipped to a Brainstorm. Not a bad card to have. I suspect they're going to cast this almost immediately. Here comes a Brainstorm. So we probably crack our fetch. We don't have anything other than mountains to find with it. And there is a very, very marginal thinning percentage going on there. It's basically non-existent. But technically it's more than 0. So we should crack it. Because we don't want to draw a land at this moment in time. We need more action. A Phoenix. The Phoenix can sit and block this if it wants to. That's kind of neat, isn't it? Alright, I'm happy to just play this, because this is getting offered up into a daze. If they daze this, then we can just replay it anyway. So this isn't a horrible space for us to be. And if they bolt this, then they're not bolting our face. And then next turn we can Broadside Bombardiers, Phoenix, go. And then if we need to, we can then throw the Phoenix at the... Actually, no, it won't be a creature or an artifact, will it? Because it'll be an enchantment at that point. So we won't be able to throw it if it's bestowed. Oh, what are they doing here? Floating mana and cracking a fetch. Is this going to be casting a Brainstorm to dig for an answer? Or are they going to cast the Druid and see if they find an answer in those cards. That's a pretty serviceable play here. No, they've got 2 blue in the pool. Force of Will. Okay, yeah, getting a Force of Will from that Phoenix is pretty darn good for us. Now, we need to not die to this Delver, which is basically all our opponent has going on. They're drawing randomly off the top. They haven't had any sculpting like Brainstorms or Ponders because they just shuffled. So it's the top of their deck and their Insectile Aberration versus what we've got going on. A Bauble. Okay, that's not that scary. What do we got for us deck? A Pyroblast, you say? I think we have to just not mess around and kill the Delver. And then if we're just playing top deck versus top deck, we've got 2 cards in hand, our opponent doesn't. Worst case scenario, we end up in a situation where we have to use our Detective's Phoenix on a creature to block if they have a Murktide. But their Murktide can only be a 5 again. So if we can get this Phoenix or get a Phoenix into play, somehow we can throw it with Bombardiers. We're not a million miles away from casting a Hollow One, just like 1 Ancient Tomb and we're there. Ancient Tomb's a little bit spooky on 8 life. But we're really making something in this game. A Ponder. That's not a bad one. Obviously our opponent's got all kinds of cantrips in their deck, so it's not a surprise they have one. We want to see a shuffle here, please. They shuffled. They thought about it for a while, though. So it's something that was obviously a bit close. Okay, they found another Ponder. That's fine. We've got plenty of time above our opponent, so we don't need to F6 our opponent's turn. We can make them think about a potential Pyroblast on something and see if that changes the way they play. A Delver of Secrets. Okay, so we're kind of back where we were a little bit. They also know the top of their library, so the chances of this flipping are very high. Okay, another Ponder. I guess it's not flipping, and they need to ponder and make sure that it does. So they wanted the Delver, and now they want something else. They shuffled their library. Not bad for news for us. So this might not flip next turn. Okay, a Broadside Bombardiers. We can pay around a Daze if they have one. And if they don't, then we can play the Simian Spirit Guide next turn, and then we can kill the Delver. So we're going to be at 5 life, so double Lightning Bolt will kill us. But we're going to be jamming our opponent's life total pretty aggressively here. Okay, so they've got a Brainstorm in their upkeep to make sure the Delver flips. That's pretty solid. We get a little peek at what they're going to be drawing at least. Come on, just have nothing but lands. It's unlikely. Oh wow, it didn't flip. So that means that maybe it was a bunch of lands, or maybe there was a Murktide region and some lands, or some other creatures, which are also pretty good on this board. Okay, it was nothing, probably. Sundering Eruption. I don't want to play this, because I don't want to take 3 life and go to 4. Aha! Okay, they scooped it up. Okay, we got a positive record. That's incredible. So we beat Delver in one round, and we went 1-2 against Delver in another round, so that was pretty good. We got absolutely hosed like a beast against the Omnitel deck, which I would expect to happen almost all the time, unless we just have nothing but Pyroblast, and even then, all they have to have is 1 Veil of Summer, and then we can't beat them. So I'm not surprised we lost that one. The Delver matchup was close, and then we end up winning 3 matchups against real decks, right? We're playing lands and Delver and stuff. So yeah, pretty happy about that. So what about this deck is the real question. So there's some stuff I really like in this deck. I like Marauding Mako. This card is cool, apart from his freaky legs, which disturb me and I don't like them. But aside from the freaky legs, I like this card a lot. I think I like my sharks to have tails. Anyway, Ivora didn't come up much, but it was a pretty reasonable thing to have, and we did play it and immediately crack a blood token once, and that was really clutch. So I think this card is something I want maybe more of. It is a bit worrying having a bunch of legends in the deck when Karakas exists, but there's not that many Karakas decks around. You've basically got like lands and D&T, so that's probably fine. So I wouldn't mind indexing higher on this sort of stuff. The Broadside Bombardiers was obviously pretty good. The Detective's Phoenix was decent as well. This was pretty important when it came up, and it was a nice thing that we could do with our mana. What I didn't like, this is probably not going to surprise you, I didn't really like this slot of stuff that much. Like the Burning Inquiry, it being random is so annoying, and the fact that a lot of our opponents can capitalize on just milling 3 cards effectively. Like, yeah, sure, maybe you disrupt a combo and they don't get to go off, but I don't think that's actually a viable strategy. I think I would rather play a build that had access to more like Faithless Looting style effects. Which is why, on my own, I've been brewing a build with Careful Studies and Faithless Lootings in, and that feels pretty interesting to me. We could also play some actual Madness cards. Something I've been interested in looking at is playing Burning Inquiry. I know I was just saying I don't like Burning Inquiry, but if you're going to play Burning Inquiry, why not have Call to the Netherworld, I think it's called? So it's a Raised Dead, but it has Madness 0. So if you like discard a bunch of cards with your Burning Inquiry and one of them is your Raised Dead, then you just get to pick back up your hollow one, so you've got a lot more resiliency to actually make sure that you're playing your hollow ones. Something that kind of seems missing in this deck to me is Anger, because we've got a bunch of mountains. Our creatures having haste would be nice, so why don't we do that? That's certainly something you could think about. Fable the Mirror Breaker was pretty good. Like, it's obviously a very powerful card that does stuff. It's quite expensive in terms of what we're trying to accomplish in our deck. So I'm curious if we can play a build that doesn't run Fable, even though this is objectively the best card in our deck. I think I would like to try and see if we can maximize this sort of thing. And if we can, instead of just make these Faithless Lootings into card disadvantage that pumps our guys, if we could try and turn these into more things that actually help our game plan. So have more things that want to go in the graveyard, and then kind of work on that front. We could even be playing Bloodghasts and go into like Grixis, go into red-black instead of red-blue. That's another option. We could even, like I said, try Grixis and just have stuff that goes into the graveyard that we don't mind being there. So we're playing these not as card disadvantage to pump our guys, but or like as like mana to accelerate us into Hollow One. But so we're actually using it almost like a draw to whilst pumping our guys. Because if we can do that, then that's very powerful. If we've got 1 mana draw twos that also grow our guys, then I'm certainly down for that. I would quite like to try with the blue guy that gets pumped though. That guy does seem pretty tasty. And I think if you're trying to play 1 and 2 drops, so like you want to have something like Ivora here, or the blue guy, or whatever you want, or obviously the Mako, you want something on turn 1 that cares about discarding before you start casting discard spells. These being 1-drops, they're not really 1-drops in our deck because we need to have something in play for them to really feed off of a lot of the time. Like we can play on 2 and then play a hollow one, that works, but obviously Burning Inquiry is only good once we've got one of these things in play, which is why I don't like it very much here. And we don't have enough graveyard shenanigans or madness shenanigans to do this. Now, you could even go really wild and have like LED Echo type stuff going on. So you discard your whole hand to Echo, pump your Mako, draw some more cards, play another LED, pump your Mako, and you can end up just like with a massive guy quite early doors. That is something that is intriguing to me. I'm not really the person to be building those sorts of decks, although I did a pretty good job building the Black Saga Echo Wheel deck. That was something I built as soon as Bowmasters came out, actually. So that was okay. Maybe we can do something a bit like that, but I would like to explore this little selection of stuff a bit more. This league was really interesting. The first couple of rounds were a bit tricky, but we definitely pulled it back, and we had some really sweet games there with like tiny edges that managed to win us the game. And there's definitely something here. You would probably need to have more interaction for combo decks. Combo decks are currently about 51% of the meta. I did a big data write-up on my Patreon today about the stats. That's why I know it's 51. So we probably need some more help for that. If you went blue, you might be able to run some form of counter magic, whether that's going to be like some spell pierces or dazes or something that we can use. Alternatively, you could run black and have things like Thoughtseize and Duress, and that would help too. Obviously, we have this for like the big turn 1 oops deck, but we're going to need stuff for like turn 2 and 3 combo decks like Storm, which is generally trying to kill you on turn 2 to 3, even though it can kill you on turn 1, and obviously Reanimator, stuff like that. So we could definitely mix that. Obviously, this is good for Reanimator. That doesn't need to be said. But we could definitely have some other tools. And I think I like this enough that I'm going to try and mess around with it. Maybe we need more madness stuff in it. We definitely need something to make these Faithless Lootings better, because you still discard the cards. We're still going to work with this. I would just like these cards to be better, and I would like Burning Inquiry to not be in my deck as a general rule. The one good thing about Burning Inquiry that I will say is it takes your Mako from a 1 power creature to a 4 power creature. And 4 is very much a key number with this deck, because you want to be able to dodge lightning bolts. Now, there's not the vastest amount of lightning bolt decks out there. Blue-Red Delver has absolutely fallen by the wayside now, and more people are trying to play Dimir Delver, and it's having much better, or just Blue-Black Tempo or Dimir Delver, various variants of that description. they are doing a lot better in the meta than the blue-red style Delver decks at the moment. So we don't have to worry about that as much, and Fatal Push is always going to clean up our guys, so we don't have to worry about it too much. So I think I'm going to try some different kind of builds and see how we feel with this one, but expect to see some Marauding Mako here. This is not the last you've seen of the Pirate Shark. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you've got any ideas about this deck, because it's pretty sweet. Actually, we could play a build that doesn't need Ancient Tomb. That would be very sweet. Anyway, yeah, I enjoyed this deck. I hope you did too. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.